It's the Heidi and Frank Show. Call Heidi and Frank now at 800-955-5567. Follow them on Twitter at Heidi and Frank. And watch the show live for minimal consideration at HeidiandFrank.com. Now, here's Heidi and Frank on 95.5 KLOS and KLOS HD1, Los Angeles.
Heidi and Frank Show. We always love going up to Morongo for events. We did a little happy hour, tacos and tequila up there inside Morongo Casino. And that evening, the last time we were up there, Eric comes up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, you got to hear this guy's story." I'm like, "Wait a second, I don't want to hear it. If it's that great, if you ran up to me, interrupted me, out there having a good time, meeting people and talking to people. If you ran in here and were so rudely interrupted everybody else, I want to hear the story on the air. If it's that good." And so Dean Agnoletto, I think it's how you say his name.
We'll find out.
He is here to tell the story that was so exciting that Eric had to run up to me in the middle of the bar and say, "You got to hear this story."
Dean is here.
Dean's here. Hello,
There's Dean.
There he is.
Hiya, Dean. Good to see you again.
Now it says here, Dean is with the Riverside County Deputy Sheriff's Association. Hello, Dean.
We got a cop in the house, Frank. Put
I know.
beer down. Oh, we're not
Beer?
driving.
Hell, I'm growing weed into this place. Okay.
Actually, I'm with Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and our association helps me out with this fund that I started for Gracie that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Tell me this story, because Eric was like, this story is the best story in the world. I'm like, all right, I got to hear this story. I have no idea what you're going to tell me right now. I'm in the dark.
Well, yeah, it's not as exciting, but what happened was I was a homicide detective in 2002, dispatched to a call where a mother had killed one of her children and attempted to kill a second daughter. That daughter lived. She survived, Gracie. I was in charge of the interviews with Gracie, and obviously hearing her story just fell in love with her.
Were you the one who found the kids?
No, we were, our homicide unit was assigned the call. Medical personnel were on scene first. They found one of the daughters in the trunk and the other in the bathtub, not doing so good. However, she was still alive, so the medical staff did what they do best, amazing, life flighted her to a trauma center, and she survived.
How did her mom, what was the story? Like, how did she try to kill her?
Yeah, the mom, she shot the 3-year-old, and she also shot Gracie, the 5-year-old, and then some other injuries to her, pretty significant injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, what are you doing?
I didn't say it was hilarious. I said it was a good story, and I felt compelled to do something.
You gotta set me up so I know what mood to be in. You act like you bought tickets to the best comedy ever released, and we go in the movie theater. And it's like,
did that.
I'm watching Prisoners.
You have to admit that you're compelled to do something
for
after
sure.
hearing about this.
Yes, I mean this is obviously a serious thing, and you have a fund. You put up for Gracie, who was 3 years old.
The story gets better. She was 5 at the time. Obviously, fell in love with her. Interacted with her quite a bit over the last the 2 years after the incident. I was there when she got adopted by her adopted family. She's been into the house. She's met my daughters, and actually we're gonna have her over here in a couple of weeks. She's coming over for a barbecue, just to interact with her. But I want to do something for this little girl. She's an amazing.
How
little
old is she now?
She's 16 now.
Wow.
She's a junior. She's doing really well in color guard. Good student. So back then I wanted to start a scholarship for her. I wanted to, I didn't want to just be done with the investigation and separate myself from her. So
Certain cases, I would imagine you just you let go, you finish the case, you move on. But then there are other ones where you're like, oh, this one's going to stay with me forever.
Absolutely. So I said, well, we started doing some comedy shows, raising some money for a college fund that I started for her. So we're on our way to putting her through college.
You're going to put her through college?
That's my goal.
Holy cow.
There's a link for donations is on the front page of Riverside County Deputy Sheriff's Association site, which is rcdsa.org, to help out Gracie. Does she have any memory of that event in her life?
Oh, she does, and she has interest in contacting her mom. Her mom's in jail for 88 years, so she probably
She does.
She wants to contact her.
well, just recently, she had interest in figuring out the story behind it. But I've never talked to her after the incident about every time I see her, I try to keep it very lighthearted
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So I purposely don't talk to her about it. But just through her adopted mom, who I have a relationship with, and with our family, yeah, she does know of she does recall.
And wants to see her. I don't know that I could do that. I mean, I guess that takes a big person to sort of want to know why it happened, I suppose.
Right, yeah, and that's and of course, her adopted family's doing a phenomenal job with this, but they're letting her do that at her own pace, So
What does she want to study in college? Do we know?
no, she was thinking about being a veterinarian, so.
So I was just wondering, like, you're paying for college. Like, are we talking med school? Are we talking 12 years? You doing 4? What are we doing? How much money do we need to raise?
We're going to Harvard.
Right. It could be 12 years of
Let's
college.
work on those SAT scores.
Yeah. But you said she's doing well. She's a good student and all that.
She is. She's doing really well. She's a beautiful young lady. She's just a good person and
And this is the one thing in your career that what really hit your core of everything you've seen being a sheriff. That this is the one thing that you had to
absolutely
that you couldn't escape from yourself. I mean, as far as the memory and the bond.
Well, I've always loved kids. If I didn't go into law enforcement, I would have been a teacher. I coach soccer today. I coach my daughter's teams. I love being around kids, but. In this instant, it's a situation where the parental trust was violated. Once that is violated, that's extra hard. Usually as a homicide detective, we're dealing with gang members, stuff like that. We profile our victims. There's usually a likelihood of them dying. But a 5-year-old little girl dying or being attempted to be killed by the hands of her mother, it's just unorthodox.
How do you even stay in it after that? I mean, as far as like this being so sickened by the scene and your job is to go out there and either help find or help prevent things from happening, but it's never going to. Things like that will never end, and you have to witness that kind of stuff over and over and over again. How do you stay sane?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I look at it personally as I become an advocate for the victim. You know what I mean? I'm really trying to help them get through this process, and this is obviously a unique situation because it was a child, and those are actually tough for everybody, and we're all parents. But
and you were first on the scene.
Well, the medical personnel were first on the scene,
Okay.
but my detective bureau was right after the patrol.
And then you got to go in and sort of rope everything
Right.
off and then look at every single
Correct.
detail
We do
to
the
see what
search
happened.
warrants. We process the scene. We do interact with the victims and stuff.
Any
like
doubt
that.
of what happened when you showed up? You're a detective and you're looking around. I mean, is there any mom did it? There's no question about this scene and what happened here.
No, there's no question. It's a pretty involved investigation, as you can imagine, any homicide investigation. But at the end of the day, with science and with with our skill set.
Was there an admission of guilt from the mom?
Yeah, there was. There was.
She did?
Yeah, at some point she spoke about some things that she did to the children. Yes.
Wow.
How do you keep
years.
yourself from just twisting that woman's head around?
Yeah,
when you
that's
see
just
her?
Well, I see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, we have a job to do.
Oh,
too,
I know,
so-
but I mean,
Wait, that's why we couldn't be cops.
I did a
So I'd
ride
be
along
like,
with the cops once, and I got super paranoid that everybody was guilty. And yeah, this job's not for me. And I mean, as far as the stress and the pressure, and then having to see things like that, and then be able to turn that off and somehow go home and have a normal life with your own kids and not think about that little girl, which obviously has put a mark on your soul, which
Right.
is now you're turning into a good thing and helping her out, and she's turned into a productive member of her high school and hopefully society someday.
so, yeah, how do we raise money for her? Like, what do we need? What do you need from us to help?
Well, if your listeners can sacrifice a cup of coffee a day, one day and just send in a small donation, we have on the website for the Sheriff's Deputy Association, as Frank mentioned, there's a right on the front page, there's a link to PayPal, and we can donate.
It's also on HeidiandFrank.com as
Oh,
well.
cool.
The link to the rcdsa.org, where you can just type in anything. It's just easy clicking as far as making the donation.
Yeah, if you it's on the lower right side of the page once you get to the page. But if you just Google, Riverside Sheriff's Association, the page will come up.
So you're not a homicide detective anymore?
No, I'm a lieutenant with our SWAT team now. But
That sounds like a promotion to me.
If I wanted to go
it's
as
a couple promotions.
if I wanted to go as a SWAT guy for Halloween, could you get me the full-on costume?
No, not now. Not now that you mentioned it on the air.
Yeah. What if I just want to drive the SWAT truck and we dress as just like minions or something? I mean,
that would be tough.
Drive the SWAT truck to
the
work.
big SWAT van.
Right.
The SWAT team. That's kick ass.
No kidding. You're like you're like the Navy SEALs of the cops then, right? Like not just anybody gets to be SWAT.
That's one way to look at it. Yes.
Okay.
There is some specialized training. Yes.
And you can kick in a door with your foot.
We try not to use our feet,
but you can.
But we can. Probably.
I always want to be able to do that. Oh, and just kick in the door. You're like, in real life that's not even possible.
Yeah,
but I guess it is.
Well, did you try to kick in that?
No, he can't kick in that metal door. There's no way he'll break his leg. Dean will break his leg.
I'm not here to break anything. So.
All right.
Not here to break anything. Here to raise money for
Gracie.
For Gracie, she's going to be going to college. What a story! It's very very touching and tragic, but obviously it turned into something from tragedy to something that's actually going to work out for her and you and everybody involved. So
something good coming out of something bad.
Yeah, if you can help Gracie, go to HeidiandFrank.com. There's a link right there to the donation page at the Riverside County Deputy Sheriff's Association site, which is rcdsa.org for short. Thank you, Dean, for coming in. I apologize for Eric not filling me in and throwing me under the bus like that.
It was a
great
story. It's a great story.
It's
compelling.
I guess it was just the scene up at Morongo. Everybody's having a good time. He's like, I guess, the best story in the world, and he was a homicide detective. I'm like, oh, those stories ought to be great. People love that kind of stuff.
Well, some of the details Dean didn't share. It was a lot more gruesome than he's really letting on right now, which is probably best for morning radio. Mm-hmm. But there are some gruesome details to this story. And what's so amazing about it for me is that Dean has nothing to gain by helping Gracie. Mm-hmm. He just was moved and compelled to help Gracie, which inspired me. And I'm going to talk to Dean about helping Gracie as well. So.
And you got Dean here on the show to help Gracie.
And it is good to know that that there are some great cops who do care and who will not just, you're like, oh, job's done, I'm going home and I'm going back to my family, who, guys like you who are like, no, I'm going to.
It's not that I want more details, but I think, as far as, me hearing the story for the first time and getting people to actually give to Gracie, that we do need to know a little bit more. From where I'm at. If I truly want to help out myself, I would say, is there, you said, the details in the beginning. Give us that quick recap of what happened, because now we're all on the same page about what's going on. So let's give us a quick recap of what happened, and maybe some more of what this little girl had to endure to where she is. Because as far as right now, I think we probably get a lot more help for Gracie if we just knew a little bit more about her. So you want to recap the story for us and maybe give us a little bit more of her situation?
Sure, absolutely. And just to add what Heidi was saying. Obviously, I don't want to disconnect from her. I want to be there for this whole duration. So that was kind of my catalyst to doing this. I just want to be done with my reports and just move on. Obviously, want to be there for her. But yeah, basically, we were dispatched to this call where initially came out as a child shot another child. It was a little bit. Some of these critical incidents, calls come in, it gets kind of confusing. So it got cleared up relatively quickly. Medical personnel typically don't go into an active shooter situation or a crisis situation without law enforcement deeming those situations safe. But they learned of the two children that were hurt, so they went in, even though the murder weapon and the suspect were still there. And they found Gracie again. One of the 3-year-old daughter, Cece, she was in the trunk, and she had already passed away. Gracie was in the bathtub. They thought she had passed away. They were standing there, and she sat up and gasped for air. And these are seasoned first responders, and it startled them. They actually,
because they were already saying, "Oh, we've got two dead little girls."
Correct. And all of a sudden, she sits up and gasps for air. She had a significant injury to her neck. So they, again, they did what they do best. They life flighted her to a trauma center. And I was there for the interviews. I was there for the when the doctors came in, the surgeon came in and told Gracie she was a piece of paper thickness away from her vocal cords from never talking again. For the rest of her life, yeah. So it was just, obviously I interacted with her quite a bit during this time, and I learned so much about this little girl and what a tough life she was having at 5 years old. Just amazing. And it was kind of her and her sidekick, her sister, fending for themselves, and now her sidekick was gone. It just made it extra tough. So I didn't want to be just a face that was there for a couple months and then gone. So.
And so there was no dad in the picture.
Well,
Mom was clearly not a good mom.
You're hitting on some good points. I have 2 little girls. If something happened to me, there's a line of people in line that can take care of, if my wife and I couldn't do it for our daughter. So her situation was extra tough. There's some confidentiality stuff, with the children victims, so I can't go into. But yeah, you hit on it. Her situation was tough, where luckily she had a good family friend of the mother who didn't live the same lifestyle, who was a very decent person, and a blessing for her, and adopted her. And I was there, at the courthouse for her adoption.
What was the motivation? I mean, the mother's motive behind this trying to kill both of her kids.
Well, it was drug related. She had been binging on drugs for about 10 days, and she said some things that were pretty bizarre about the kids.
So there might have been a hallucination.
Out of her mind type stuff?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really kind of a bizarre situation for any parent, and to do anything.
And to
like
this
that.
day, worst situation you've ever been involved in professionally?
Worst situation? I've been in law enforcement for 17 years. I've seen some stuff, but
anything with kids.
Yeah, it probably hit me the most. Yeah, as far as with
obviously
kids.
it hit you the most because it's sort of become your life mission here to help Gracie go to school.
It is, yeah. Like I said, I don't want to quit on her, so my goal is to get her through college. I know through education, it's helped me vocationally, it's helped me professionally, it's helped me with my relationships. I hope that she would have the same positive effect on her.
Gracie's mother is in jail or prison. She's going to be there for the next, you said, 88 years. And
right, her sentence was 88 to life. Once you get the tail, when they say life, you're not eligible for parole until the 88 years is up. So
she'll
but
die.
she's pretty
in
much
prison.
dead, right? I mean,
yeah, she was in her 20s, so she'll be over 100 before she gets out.
Good.
and Gracie wants to visit her, which is another, amazing thing to say about this young woman who is going to be able to, still has the ability to possibly forgive or to learn more, and
That
I can't imagine.
That speaks of her character there, 'cause I don't think I could do that. I'd be
Cannot
like,
imagine. All right.
done with that. Wow.
Yeah, help out Gracie. Go to HeidiandFrank.com. You can link directly to the donations page of the Riverside County Deputy Sheriff's Association, rcdsa.org. Thank you for adding to the story. I got a better picture now. I mean, it was kind of confusing in the beginning with everything going on. But yeah, if you can, help out Gracie. Thank you so much, Dean, for coming in and sharing that
You're
story.
a good man, Dean.
Thank you very much
to
for
tell
having
every
me.
single time. I can't imagine, because you lived it. I can't imagine having to tell something like that, or even having that story that's
in your brain.
forever. We're going to take a break. Come right back. We are Heidi and Frank.
That was just a little sample of the Heidi and Frank Show on 95.5 KLOS. Now, to get the show in its entirety, on demand, and if you want to watch the show, we webcast it every day, all you have to do is go to HeidiandFrank.com and become a premium package member. Do it right now.